Okay, gang, I hate to do this to you on a Friday, but this is lesson a little bit confusing. Take this graph sheet and put it to the side. That's in the second video in your email. Now, this doesn't take a long time if you know what you're doing, but the problem is we haven't done this before, and your job on all of these equations is to identify your slope and your y-intercept. That's what you're going to write on all the problems. I need to know what the slope is of the equation. I need to know what the y-intercept is. But you have a big problem, okay? The big problem is, look on the side of the y and make the wall. For you to know the slope and the y-intercept, you have to have only the y over here, okay? So to know the slope and y-intercept, you can only have the y over here. All this other crap has to get out. Well, how are we going to accomplish that? Well, I have a little checklist here. First off, you're going to put ones if needed. By that I mean put a 1 in front of x, but it already has a 4, a 1 in front of 5, it already has a y, so we don't need to put any ones. Now, you're going to fix your minus signs with plus negative, okay? So put a plus negative there, and we're good. Dot and circle your y. The y is dot and circled, make the wall. We already have the wall, okay? Dot and circle your y. Okay, and then circle that. If your y dot number is negative, you switch all signs in the equation so that the y can be positive. Here's what I mean by that. This dot number on the y we don't want to be negative for reasons I will explain later, but we don't want that to be a negative. Well, it's a negative. So what do we do about it? Well, you're going to do the opposite of 4, make that a negative, and then you're allowed to make your 5 a positive, which is what we want. And then the 10 has to be switched to the opposite. If it's positive, it goes negative, okay? So that's how you make sure that the dot number in front of the y is positive. If you're going to switch it to a positive, but then that goes opposite, and so does that. Okay, add or subtract with stuff that's outside your circle, okay? So outside the circle, you have a negative 4x. Well, you have to either add or subtract that so it goes off of that side. But the problem is we don't have an x over here, okay? So we're going to make our own. We're going to put a plus 0x, okay? That's what it says, add or subtract with stuff outside your circle. Make a 0x so you have somewhere on the other side to put it, okay? So I'm going to put plus 4x, okay? And we can cross that out. Now I go under the 0x and add a 4x, because otherwise I can't add it to negative 10. Negative 10 didn't have an x connected to it, okay? So if I actually put a number with an x, and if I don't have it, I put 0. So, rewrite the equation. So you have equals 5 dot y. Now, over here you don't put the negative 10. You got to take your 0x plus 4x. That's 4x. You put that first. You add those together, put that first, then the plus negative 10. Okay, then you divide everything by the y dot number. But if you get a decimal, you're going to leave it as a fraction. Here's what I mean by that. We're going to divide by 5, cross it out. Then I underline this and put 5 under those. Okay? Now your y is by itself. Now we have to divide these, but no decimals allowed. If you get a decimal, I'm going to tell you what to put with it. You're going to take 4 divided by 5. That's a decimal. So if you get a decimal, leave it as a fraction. Just leave it 4x over 5. Okay? Now I'm going to divide here, put a plus, and we're going to divide negative 10 by 5. And that's negative 2. Now the y is by itself. Now you can label this m and b, and you got your answers. M is your slope, 4 over 5. Which is fine because I want the slope to be a fraction, okay? I'm not even going to make you reduce this, okay? The y-intercept would be -2, okay? Now, next one. Put ones if you need them, because right here, your y is not all by itself. You make a wall, and you can only have a y over there, okay? And we have to find our slope. These are the answers to your problems and the y-intercept. Okay, okay, put ones if needed. Well, that adds a -3, that has a 7. And fix your minus signs. So we'll go plus negative there, and that's it. Dot and circle your y and make the wall. The wall's already there, okay? Dot circle. If your y dot number's negative, you switch all signs in the equation so that y can be positive. But guess what? That's a positive 7. So don't switch the signs in like you did up here, okay? So don't change anything. You want that to be a positive right there. Okay, add or subtract with stuff outside your circle. Make a 0x because you have to put somewhere on the other side to put it. So I got this -3x. So I put a 3x and I would have to plus it to get rid of it. Okay. But I need an x over here, so I put a plus 0x, and then under the 0x I put a plus 3x. Okay. Now rewrite the equation. So 7 dot y, do the x's first. 0x plus 3x is 3x, and then plus 14. Now finally divide everything by the y dot number, the multiplying number on the y. But if you get a decimal, leave it as a fraction. Underline all three of those, and we put 7 underneath them. That cancels. I have y by itself. Now I divide. 3 divided by 7, decimal, so you leave it 3x over 7. 3/7. 14 divided by 7 is 2. Okay? And now, mission accomplished. We have the y by itself. So y equals mx plus b. So the m is the slope, that's 3/7. The y-intercept is 2, positive 2. Okay, next problem. Again, you got to find the slope and the y-intercept. Fix your minus signs, okay? Okay, fix minuses. Put ones if needed first, okay? So your x and y need numbers in front, so we put ones there, okay? And then fix your minuses. So plus negative, okay? Dot and circle your y, make the wall, not the x, got to be the y, because we need the y by itself. Okay, now, if your y dot number's negative, you switch all signs in the equation so that the y can be positive. For the sole purpose of that y multiplying number, the dot number being positive. Well, is it negative? Yes, it is, okay? It is negative. So I'm going to make the one opposite into a negative. I make that into a positive 1, and then the 6 goes to a positive, okay? So you got to fix that. Now, because you don't want that y dot number to be a negative, trust me on this, okay? You do not want that to be a negative. It has to be a positive. And if it's negative, we make it positive, but then we have to switch the others outside to the opposite, okay? So, add or subtract the stuff outside your circle, okay? Make a 0x so you have somewhere on the other side to put it. So outside the circle, we got this negative 1x. So I put 1x, and then put a plus sign, and that goes away. But I have to put a plus 1x on this side. Well, I don't have an x, so that's why I put a 0x, so I have somewhere to put the plus 1x, okay? Line up your equals, and you have 1 dot y, okay? Do your x's first. 0x plus 1x is 1x plus 6. You rewrote the equation. Now divide everything by the y dot number, but if you get a decimal, leave it as a fraction. You don't want decimals in this whole assignment. and we have 1. So that's y. 1 divided by 1 is 1, no decimals, so 1x. 6 divided by 1 is 6. Okay? So mb, because now the y is by itself. Y equals mx plus b. So the slope is 1, and the y-intercept is 6. Okay? Done. Okay, we have to find the slope and the y-intercept. Okay, first off, your y has to be by itself. We have to get that. Only a y can be over here. No numbers, no other letters, just y. Dot and circle your y, okay, or also fix your minuses, okay. So plus negative. It's like a checklist. You didn't need the ones, okay, because you had a 2 and a 3. Fix your minuses. Dot and circle your y and make the wall. We already made the wall, so I just dot and circle my y. Okay. If your y dot number is negative, you switch all signs in the equation so that the y can be positive. Okay. You need that y to be positive. Make it positive, but then you got to switch the other two. So what's the opposite of 2? Negative 2. What's the opposite of 6? Negative 6. So we made our y opposite so it could be positive, okay? We want that to be positive, but then you got to make the other two outsides opposite. Okay, add or subtract with stuff outside your circle. Make a 0x so you have somewhere on the other side to put it. So we have a negative 2x, so we put a 2x and we would plus that. Well, that's great, but I don't have an x on the other side, so I put my own 0x and I plus 2x there. Okay? You can't plus 2x to a negative 6. Negative 6 doesn't have an x. So we have 3.y. Now, don't drop the negative 6. You add your x's first. 0x plus 2x is 2x, and then I put plus negative 6. Okay? Rewrote the equation. Now divide everything by the y dot number. But if you get a decimal, leave it as a fraction. So 3, 3, 3. 2 divided by 3. I'm thinking that's a decimal. Yep, so don't write the decimal. Put 2x over 3. Okay? You just copy down what you have. If it's a decimal, okay? And then negative 6 divided by 3 is negative 2. Okay, now the y is by itself. I'm good. I have my m, I have my b. So the slope is 2 over 3, and the y-intercept is negative 2. If you want, I don't usually put the x in the slope. If you put it, it's not a big deal. Okay, won't be. So m is 2 over 3. Okay, moving right along. Okay, do we need any ones? Nope, that is a 6, that is a 5. Fix your minus signs, so that's going to be plus negative, okay? Dot and circle your y, make the wall. Because we have to get that y by itself. But before I worry about the negative 5, okay, I got to take care of. If your y dot number is negative, you switch all signs in the equation so y can be positive. We need that dot number positive, okay? Just trust me on this, okay? So if you made that the opposite, you got to make that opposite. What's the opposite of 6? Negative 6. What's the opposite of 10? Negative 10. And you can do that in an equation, okay? Make all terms into the opposite. You're allowed to do that. Because we need that to be a positive. I want that number I'd put divide by to be positive, okay? Okay, add or subtract stuff outside your circle, okay? You got this negative 6x, so it's negative 6, we add 6x. But I got to do it on the other side too, but I don't see an x, so I make my own. 0x, and I put a plus 6x, okay? Now, rewrite your equation. We have 5 dot y. I want that to be a positive, which I've done. 0x plus 6x is 6x plus negative 10. Now divide everything by the y dot number, but if you get a decimal, leave it as a fraction. By the way, you got to find the slope. This is your answer over here. Okay, you should write this at the beginning of the problem. So 6 divided by 5, that's a decimal. Don't write 1.2. You leave that 6x over 5, okay? Plus, and then I take negative 10 divided by 5, I got negative 2. Now the y is by itself. Y equals mx plus b, okay? Once your y is by itself, put the mb label. So slope is 6 over 5, and the y-intercept's negative 2. Okay, next problem. Slope and y-intercept. You don't need ones. Fix the minus, okay? I usually make the wall at the beginning, but that's up to you. Wall's there, you dot and circle your y. Now look inside the circle. That has to be a positive, and it is. It's already a positive, so we don't make it opposite, okay? Now, outside you have a negative 4x, so plus 4x. We have a negative, so we have to plus it. But I need an x on the other side to put the plus 4x, so I make a plus 0x. And I put plus 4x, okay? So line up your equals, and you have 3 times y. Do your x, don't drop the 6 first. You need the x number first. Well, 0x plus 4x is 4x. And then plus 6. Now, last step, you have to divide everything by the y dot number. Everything, okay? So 3, 3, 3. Now my y is by itself. I just got to figure out the other side, and I know my slope and y-intercept, okay? So 4 divided by 3 decimal, so you keep it 4x over 3. 6 divided by 3 then is 2, okay? And you have your m, you have your b. So the slope is the m, 4 over 3. The y-intercept is 2. Okay, next one. Okay, you don't put ones, make that plus negative, because you see, you make the wall, the y is not by itself. You have to get the y by itself. Everything but the y has to go, and I've told you how to do that. Remember, the y is what I want by itself, so I dot, circle. That is a positive 2, okay? So we don't switch the signs, okay? You only make things opposite if that number there is negative. That number is positive, don't change the signs, okay? Now, outside you add or subtract. We have a negative 5x, so I plus it. But I need an x over here. I can't put it under the 12. The 12 doesn't have an x, so I make my own x term with 0x. Then I'll plus 5x there, okay? Cancel that. And you have 2 dot y. So 0x plus 5x is 5x. And then plus 12. Again, you got to do the x before the 12. Now, last part, you got to divide everything by 2. So 5 divided by 2. Decimal, so put it as 5x over 2. Okay? 12 divided by 2 is not a decimal, it is 6, so we write 6 down, okay? And now I know my slope and y-intercept of the graph, okay? MB. So M is your slope, 5 over 2, and y-intercept is 6. Okay, now, next one. Slope, last one. Okay, any ones you needed? Nope. Okay. Fix those minuses, make sure we know what they are. See, put ones if needed, fix your minuses, dot and circle your Y and make the wall, okay? Actually, I usually make my wall right away so I can tell, okay, Y is not by itself, I got a bunch of crap with it. Okay, that number I circled, is it positive or negative? We need it positive, it is, so I don't change opposites, okay? Okay. Now you add or subtract the outside, just like before. You have a negative, so you're going to plus it. Remember to put the X with it, okay? But I need to do it on the other side. I can't do it here because that didn't have an X, okay? So I put a plus 0x, and I put a plus 6x, okay? So I've got 2 dot y, 0x plus 6x is 6x, and then plus the negative 6. Okay, then we divide everything by the y dot number, but if you get a decimal, leave it as a fraction. Okay, 6 divided by 2 is not a decimal, okay? It's a whole number, so I put 3x, okay? Put the x behind it. Negative 6 divided by 2 is negative 3. And now the y is by itself, okay, on that side of the wall. That was the whole object, MB, okay? So the M is 3, slope, and the B is negative 3. Okay, you got 4 to do. Remember, you want to put a 1 in front of that X there. Okay, put 1s if needed. That's the only one you're going to have to put a 1. Fix your minuses. If your y dot number is negative, you switch all the signs in the equation. Everything goes opposite. So with the intense purpose of that, your y is positive.